Hi guys, welcome to Digital Tech Join. So in this video we are going to learn about deploying your ASP.NET application that uses Microsoft SQL Server Database, and we are going to create some table and fetch some record, and then finally deploy that application on Azure Cloud Platform. Now in my playlist on my channel, that is tutorial on Microsoft Azure, you can see I had created almost 4 videos now, and the last video was about deploying ASP.NET application on Microsoft Azure Cloud. But this was a very simple video where for the beginners, I created an MVC application and deployed on Azure platform. But now today I'm going to create an application. I'll show you how to create a database connectivity and everything, and fetch some record, and then deploy this solution in Azure Cloud. So this will have our MVC application, and it will also have Azure SQL Server Database. So let's get started. So this is the Azure portal that I've already logged in with my account, that is digitaltechjoin@gmail.com. Now here if you see, right now I don't have any resources. So the first step we are going to do is that we will create an app server, that is app services, which is required to host our ASP.NET MVC application. So let's click on this app services. So this app service can be found in the most used services over here in the dashboard, or else you can also access this from your left side menu. You can search for app services, or you can use your global search bar and just type in app services. So these are the methods where you can access your app service, okay, on Azure, and click on create app service. So this is a free subscription, and I've created a resource group called RG Trail. Now all these things, what is a resource group, everything is covered in my previous videos. I suggest that if you need any help in how to use Azure portal, then definitely go and watch those videos. Now this is the app server name. This should be unique, so I'm just typing Digital Tech Join app service. Yes, it's ticked, that means it is available. So this will be a global IP address or global URL. I'm keeping the runtime as .NET 7, and then I'm keeping the region as East US. You can also select Central India and South India, and all these provisions are there. Right now I'm just keeping the default East US, and then this will be a free trial account, and then I click on next. So this is a GitHub which I right now don't need it, so I click on networking. I make sure that you enable public access, and then finally click on monitoring. So right now I don't want any application inside. I click on tag, and then I review it. So here I click on create. So while if you go to your notification panel, you can see it is creating this app service. You can see deployment is in progress. So this is the first step. I've created an app service. Now let's go ahead and open Visual Studio and create a project which will use our database. Just typing Visual Studio 2022, and I just open it. So now I create a project, and I select ASP.NET MVC template, which is right over here. I click on next, and I say Azure DB hosting. Okay, so Azure app DB hosting. Okay, so this is the name of the project. Click on next. It's .NET 7.0. As of now, I'll just untick configure for HTTPS, and I'll click on create. So the project default project template is created, and you can see our MVC project application is loaded. And let's go ahead and quickly create the necessary requirement. Let's go first create a model class. I select, right click on the model, say class, and I say lead entity. So this is a model that captures the leads, so lead entity. Let's create the properties, prop id, and then we have prop source, lead source. We should also have prop date time, lead date, and this will be name of the customer, and then mobile, and finally email. So this is a basic properties will define. Okay, this is set. Now property is ready. We'll make sure that this ID is primary key. Now once we have the model ready, let's go ahead and deploy the required manage tools. So right click the project and select my NuGet manager package manager and search for framework. So we need entity framework core, and then we need our SQL Server, since we are going to work with Microsoft SQL Server Database Express Edition, and then we need tools for using migration command, Microsoft Entity Framework Core.tools. So guys, there are a lot of videos in my channel which talks and explains about database connectivity and creates CRUD application. So we will not get into much detail. We'll just quickly create this project so that we can main purpose is that we will need to deploy this on Azure. That is the main goal. So this tools are installed. Now let's go ahead and add our DB context class. Right click the project, say new folder, and say data. Right click, say add class, and say application DB context. Now this will implement DB context class, so DB context right over here. And then we are going to click on this and add the constructor called with options. We will also create a DB set prop DB set, and we'll use lead entity, and we'll name this as leads. So this is the name that we will be creating a table as leads. So this is done. Now let's go ahead and open our SQL Server Database Express Edition, and in the meantime we'll go to our app setting and add the connection string over here. So connection string name is default connection, and here I'm going to copy the connection string which is already saved. So this is the connection string. So your database name I have not created, so I'm just create this database name over here. Right click Azure DB. Okay, this is the name of the database, Azure DB, and I'm going to name that over here Azure DB. So our database is there, and so everything, our application DB context is ready, our model is ready. Let's go ahead and go to program files and add a dependency injection of the connection string, builder.services, add DB context, and use our application DB class, application DB context class. Options, this lambda expression, enter, options.use SQL Server Database, bracket, and builder dot configuration dot get connection string, and name of the connection string. That's it. Now let's close everything and invoke our package manager. NuGet package manager console, and say add migrations, and this is our initial DB setup. Okay, so it's not migration, it's migration. Add hyphen migration, initial DB setup, build started, and it succeeded. You can see a migration folder is created, and then let's update database so that the scripts run and the database is created in our database. So you can see the script is running, it's successful. Now if you go to Azure DB, you see the table is created, leads. So this is a lead table created, and if you go to design, the property that we define is set over here: ID, lead date, lead source, name, mobile and email. So our database is ready. Now what we'll do is we'll use scaffolding and we will quickly create a module. So for that, let's right click on controller and say add controller and select MVC controller with views using entity framework. Click on add. So model name is lead entity, which we created, lead entity. DB context is application which we created, and that's it. So it's scaffolding and it is generating the required code. So we'll be able to fetch the data, create, edit, delete, record everything. So I use this method so that we can quickly get around this module, and finally we will deploy it on our Azure platform with MS SQL Server Database. So our module is ready. Let's go ahead and check it. So before that, we'll just run the project and see the module. So controller name is lead entities. So just say for lead entities. Here you can see our module is loaded. So it has no records. Let's go ahead and select the date and select the lead source from website, name John, and mobile and john@yahoo.com. So we are able to add the record, and we are also able to update the record. So this is all functionality is already there. So now let's go ahead and add this lead entity link in our home page. Go to the view, home, index, no, not shared, sorry, shared, layout. Here you can see the home over here. So control, so let's say lead entities is the controller name and action is index. So action is index. Yeah, so we have added the link, so we can simply click on the link and display the records. So click on home and you can see the lead module is displayed. Let's also change the name. So go to shared layout, and it is not home, it is CRM leads. Okay. CRM leads. So guys, our module is ready. Our CRUD operation is ready. Now let's deploy this on Azure platform. So what are the things we need to take care of? So first of all, in my Azure platform, you can see my app service is now ready. So this is my app service, that is Digital TechJohn app service, which is ready. Now what I'm going to do is that go to Visual Studio, right click on your project and say publish. You need to select Azure. You need to select app service for Windows, since I'm doing it on Windows. Click on next. I've already logged in with my account Digital TechJohn, which is same as this one over here. And since I've already logged in, it shows me the resources under the resource group name. Now when I expand it, I'll be able to see my service, app service, that is Digital TechJohn app service, which is right over here. Okay, I select that and I click on finish. So it is creating the profile. Yes, the profile is ready. You can see it is actually created all the profiles. Now here what you need to do, now since we have a dependency, that is an SQL Server Database over here, we need to enable that over here. So what we will do is that this service is by default picked up. So either we can edit it, okay, or we can ignore this profile because this is picked up by default and it adds connection string which is pointing to our database. Okay, so that is not what we wanted. We want a database to be created over here in Azure platform, and the application which is published on Azure should know that database is pointed to cloud Azure platform, not on my local system. So what I'm going to do is that right click on this dots over here and say ignore this profile. Okay, so I've ignored this profile, so right now I need to manually add the dependency. So what I'm going to do is just click on the plus sign over here and I'm going to select Azure SQL Database. Click on next. Now right now in my Azure platform, under my account, there is no Azure Database SQL Database created. That is why it is not able to see any database over here. So we can create a database from this platform, from Visual Studio itself, or you can go to Azure and also create from here as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's create Azure SQL Database from our Visual Studio. So click on create new. Okay, now here this is the database name, so I am going to create the same name which I created over here. So I'm going to say Azure DB, but before that I need to create a database server, right? So here you can see database server and database administrator and password. So before we specify the database name, let's click on database server new. So I'm keeping this database server as it is by default, Azure DB hosting DB server. Default is East US. I'm keeping it, and I'm providing the administrator which I'm naming at digital tech join admin, and password is A capital admin $123. Similarly admin $123. So I've created this. I'm clicking on OK. Now it is creating the database server. It is already created it. Now I'll go ahead and change the database name to Azure DB, which is same as created in my local database. Now once this is done, I click on create. Now it's revalidating all the properties once, and then it will create a database, okay, which will be also visible in my Azure portal. Now this takes some time. It takes around 5 to sometimes 10 minutes. So what are we going to do is we'll just pause this video, and once it is created, we'll resume it. So guys, the database is created. So I can see in the list now the database name Azure DB, and it is created in East US location, and this is the database server. And now if I switch back to our portal and check whether the database is created, you can see I'll just refresh it once, and then I'm going to go to SQL Databases. Now if you click on, you can see the database is created over here, and when you click on that, you can see the various properties that we created is already there. You can see the database server name, and this will be the connection string. So if you click on the connection string, here is the connection string. So what we're going to do is that we will also copy this connection string. This will be required. So this is the connection string that I'm going to copy. So I just copy the connection string over here, and then we are ready now. So our database is also set, and it can be seen over here. Now we'll go back to our Visual Studio, and now I'm going to click on next. So this is the connection string, so I'm going to say default connection. So remember, in my app setting, I'd given a connection string name as default connection, which is used in the program. So that is the reason I've given default connection. And here database connection username. Okay, so I need to give the database connection username. I'll keep it as digital tech join admin, same as my database server. And my database connection password will be admin, A capital D MIN $123. And this is the connection string. If you see, the connection string is already defined over here, so I actually don't need to copy it from Azure. It is already picked up, and then I click on next. So it will install the necessary packages. So I click on finish. It is installing these packages, and it will also do a connectivity test. Fine, so this is done, and I'll click on close. Now the most important thing to note over here is that we have created our app services that will host our website. We have created an SQL database, and database name is Azure DB. So but that database on Azure does not have the table that we created, that is leads. Okay, so in order to create a table, what we are going to do is we are going to use our client, that is Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, which is deployed in our localhost, and we'll click on file and connect it. And here we are going to connect the database that we created in Azure. For that, what we are going to do is that we'll go to SQL Database, click on our database name, copy the server name, which is right over here, come to our client tool, paste the server name over here, select SQL Server Authentication, and give the username, that is digital tech join admin, and password admin A capital $123. Let's try to connect. Now when I try to connect, I'm getting this error. So before we host our website on Azure and try to use our database, we need to make sure our database is getting connected via different clients. So here you can see it is rejecting our connection to Azure database. So in order to tackle this, what you need to do is go to your Azure database, that is on cloud, click on Azure DB. Here on the top you can see set firewall, click on that, scroll below, and here you can see firewall rules, and here you can see add client. So see, this is the IP that I'm trying to connect, so I want to ensure that I give access to this client connecting to my Azure database that I created. So just click on this add client, you can see automatically it adds my IP addresses, and click on save. It successfully added it. Now I go back to our Visual Studio console and try to connect back. Here you can see it is successfully connected. Okay, so now our database is ready on Azure, and you can see it has our Azure database. What we can do, we'll go to our local database, expand, select our database Azure DB, right click on our table, script table as create, copy it in our clipboard, come to our Azure database. Okay, and here you can expand it and open the query window, paste it over here, and just execute this particular script which says create table leads, and make sure that I select Azure DB of Azure Cloud so that it executes over there. Or you can simply say use the select database and say file connection, current connection. Yeah, now I think so it get executed. Select this, it's got executed. So in our cloud, Azure server, Azure DB, right click on that, refresh it once. Refresh it, you can see you should see the table over here. So our database now in Azure database as our table. So right now go to a Visual Studio. Now our profile is ready. We have the app service ready. It is already created the profile. We have created the dependency of Azure SQL Server Database, and we have made sure the connectivity is there, and we also made sure the data tables is created. Now simply we need to now publish it by clicking on this button. So I click on publish, and here you can see it is publishing. So build started, publishing to Azure App Service Windows. So you can check in the output windows what is actually activities happening. and the same is updated over here. You can see it's adding the directories, it's adding the runtimes, libraries. So guys, just have a note on this output window and make sure that you go through this once. So you should be aware what all things are getting moved to Azure Cloud platform, the runtimes and services. And here you can see the build is published successfully. Web app was successfully published. Now it is installing the ASP.NET Core site extension. You can see the update over here right in front of you in the profile window, and it is loading the URL as well, the website as well. So this is digital text app service.azure website.net. We should be able to see our site. Yes, we are able to see our website on cloud now, Azure. We'll click on CRM leads and it should load without any issue, because we also check the connectivity of database. Yes, it successfully loaded it. Let's create one record on cloud. We'll select the date, select the lead from website, name is John, mobile is something, and then john@yahoo.com. Let's click on create button. Yes, you can see the records is getting created and it's also getting updated. Let's add one more record. So we'll make some changes over here just to, this is from social media, Alex at the rate gmail.com. So this is the second record, we added it. So everything is working. We are able to successfully host our ASP.NET application that uses SQL Server Database, and we can see it is working perfectly fine. What we'll do is that we'll edit it. So we notice that when I create a record and click on lead date, it is showing the time as well as date. We don't want that. Also, we don't want this label lead date and lead source. So what we'll do is we'll make a small change and we republish our website. So we go to our model class, lead entity, and here for date we say date type, so this is the format that I gave, and also our display name as date. Similarly for lead source we say display name as source, or we'll say lead with a space. So this is a small change which we did. We'll just rebuild the site. It successfully. Now right click on that and say publish. So this is a profile which is already ready. We just have to click the button publish and it will publish back our changes to Azure portal. This time the publish should be fast because already published once. As I told you, it is quite fast this time, and our site is ready. It is loading. So we'll be creating lead, and this time we should be able to see the changes as well. Click on CRM leads. We are able to see the two records. Correct. We create a new lead now. Now you can see the labels have changed, date and lead source. Now I click on this button and here you can see only date calendar is displayed. Our changes went very well. Lead source is marketing. Name is Rod and number. And here you go. The changes reflected successfully. So this is a small application that I demonstrated, which you can use it and understand the steps in order to deploy your ASP.NET application that uses SQL Server Database on Microsoft Azure Cloud platform. So guys, I hope you like this video. Please do subscribe my channel and share it with your friends, family and colleagues to help me grow my network. Also do like and comment, and also do let me know if you need any video related to ASP.NET or Azure or any other topic which you want me to cover. I'll love to do it for you guys. So thank you very much for your time and see you soon.